Hello and welcome to Desire Dilemma, a podcast that amplifies immigrant voices in America. I'm Funmi Apantaku-Onayemi, your host. Attorney Patrick Chukelu is the lead attorney at the law office of Patrick Chukelu. In over 3 decades, his law firm has successfully represented plaintiffs in complex and class action cases. He was a professor of law at one of Texas universities. His impact on Texas law reads as a who is who of his profession because of his scholarly legal writings and professorship. He has helped many people avoid legal, social, and immigration pitfalls that could have been detrimental to them and their families. Attorney Chukelu has strong ties to his country of Nigeria, where he holds a chieftaincy title in his native town of Awka-Etiti in Anambra State. Anambra is in the southeastern region of Nigeria, and it is the 14th most populous state in the country. On this podcast, Attorney and Professor Chukelu will tell us about his upbringing, his residency in the U.S., and also share some of his views on why new immigrants get caught in legal trouble that creates stress and unwellness. Good morning, Professor and Attorney Chukelu. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast, Desire Dilemma. I can't even begin to tell you about you, right? Because you are when I read about you, it's like you are who is who in Texas. So this morning, I want to begin really to understand how you got here. Tell us about your upbringing.
Thank you. And it's my pleasure being on your podcast. Again, my name is Patrick Chukelu, and I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas. And I originally came from Nigeria. My parents live in Lagos, even though they're from southeastern part of Nigeria. We're Igbos by tribe, but my dad was an early migrant to Lagos. My dad came to Lagos about 1940. My mom came to Lagos in the mid-40s. I was born in Lagos, in the Surulere part of Lagos. I'm sure most Lagosians know Fela Anikulapo Kuti's original Kalakuta area in Surulere. That was the neighborhood that I was born, and I went to school in Lagos to the famous St. Finbar's College at Koka, a very premier school, Catholic school, next to the University of Lagos. That's where I did my high school, and I finished my high school earlier. I believe I finished when I was about 15 years old, because you can start school early if you enroll in private school. So I finished school early and worked with my father's business briefly. My dad had a stationery business, the equivalent of your Office Depot. We sell most of the products you'll find in Office Depot. And I worked with my dad while I was in high school till I finished, and decided to migrate to the U.S. For 2 reasons. One, the education was very fast. I planned to get my degree in 2 years and move back to Nigeria. And also, I wanted the opportunity to attend a Bob Marley concert. I thought Bob Marley lived in the U.S., so I wanted to see Bob Marley. Those were my 2 reasons for coming to America.
That is not possible to get to America. Because I wanted to ask you, with such affluent upbringing, why did you come? So you came for Bob Marley. Oh my God, that's a different one.
Yeah, at that time, the reggae music was very revolutionary and popular. And my mindset was that of progressive thinking. We want change now. So Bob Marley appealed to me. And I thought once I come to US, I'll see Bob Marley. So that's my second reason for coming to America. As if, thinking of a 15, 16-year-old.
I can't stop laughing about this one. This is so different from what we've heard before. So you came to the US, and before, apart from Bob Marley, did you have a more like picture of what America looked like?
Yes. America is a very great marketer. They have excellent marketing skill. So Coca-Cola is number one. Pan Am Airline is number one. Everything American is number one. We used to watch Bonanza. You watch Rawhide, all the cowboy movies. And that's why most parents want their kids to go to school in England, because it's safer, because all we see about American is someone riding a horse and shooting down the whole town for no reason. So our parents didn't want us to come to America because of the violence portrayed on the television. But as a young person, America was the most appealing compared to the rigid British environment. So I was actually delayed almost a year coming to America because my parents wanted me to go to England. And I said, no way, I'd rather stay in Nigeria than go to England. It's America or nothing else.
So when your very first day in America, what surprised you?
Well, it's interesting. I had a sister that was living in Houston. So I wanted to, places you hear about in America is New York. So I applied for universities in New York, but my sister said, if you're coming to America, you're going to come under my care. So that's how I ended up in Texas. So from the airport, they took me to their residence in the outskirts of Houston, suburb of Houston, until school started like about a week later. So once I moved on campus, I attended Houston Baptist University, which is a private university, Baptist University here in Houston. So once I was on my own on campus, they didn't serve meals on weekend. So I walked off campus and walked I crossed the freeway on foot. That's what we do in Nigeria. So I crossed the Southwest Freeway and went to a little restaurant, and young kids will read about America, and we read novels. One of the most popular ones is James Hadley Chase. Every young kid read that novel. They describe, he's very good at describing meals. So he describes meals, omelette, and, with strawberry topping, with whipped cream. You read all these things in novels. So when I came, I looked at the menu for the breakfast. I ordered an egg. I didn't know all the trimmings that came with it. So I just pointed to one, which said about $4, $3.99 or something like that. So I ordered it. When it came, it happened to be the same type of way we fry our eggs in Nigeria. It's just the description was different. The toppings were different. But I was shocked when they brought me the bill, and instead of the $3.99 on the menu, they brought me a bill of about $6. I thought I was being ripped off because I didn't figure in the taxes and all this stuff. The drink was an extra. I thought I just ordered $3.99 meal. They tagged on the cost of the orange juice and everything and added tax. So I didn't want to start trouble the first day in America. So I just paid the money grudgingly. I was very unhappy because I thought I'd been ripped off.
So you were surprised you didn't want to start any trouble. Did you ever start trouble in Texas over overpriced anything?
No, I think it was a cultural thing because, as you well know, in Nigeria, if you price your meal and they say something is X amount, that's what there's no tax added. So I thought, because I was apprehensive when I was going into the little breakfast place, I wanted to make sure I have enough money. This is my first time in America. I've never gone out on my own to purchase anything. So I probably have about $10 or $20 in my pocket and figured that would cover the meal, And looking back now, I didn't tip because I didn't know you were supposed to tip. I was still concerned that I was ripped off by being charged more than was written on the menu.
You know what? From what you've told me, you came from Surulere, not too far from Fela Anikulapo's shrine, I think they used to call it. And then you had Bob Marley on your mind when you came to the US. And here you are in the US, feeling ripped off. You must have gotten in some kind of trouble while in college. Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
I think you're reading into it that I'm from a little bit rough background.
No, I'm saying that you're determined to challenge the status quo. I'm thinking. So I bet you in college, you must have had some challenges, probably created by the fact that you felt cheated one way or the other, right?
Well, let me tell you how I was tamed. Yeah, your expectation is correct that I would have been rebel rousing if I feel cheated. But once my parents agreed for me to come to US and to fund my education, my mom particularly told me to go to my older relatives and to tell them I'm going to America and for them to pray for me. So there's this uncle on my father's side that I went to and told him, Uncle, I came to tell you I'm going to America next week to go to school. And, the normal thing would be they'll pray for you and all this stuff. But he just lit on me and said, look, your dad thinks he's so smart. He's wasting money sending you guys abroad. I don't think if you ever go to America, you're ever going to come back, that he doesn't think it's a good idea. I had an earful when I left there, So when I left his house, I made up my mind, determined that nothing is going to stop me from succeeding. There's not going to be any stumbling block that's going to stop me. Since the perception out there is that my dad was making a mistake to send me to America, that, people carry guns and shoot for no reason. So he didn't think it was a good idea for me to come to the US. So I was determined to prove him wrong. So till today, I stay out of trouble.
Maybe that was a good thing that he did what he did.
It was a good thing. It was a good thing.
So your entry into the American university, what did you have in mind? You went in to study what?
When I left Nigeria, my interest was to study law. But without guidance, when I got here, then my sister, who was already a graduate here in the US, told me that you cannot study law as an undergraduate program. And the school I was going to did not have a law program. So I said, in the alternative, let me study business administration since I'm already working, helping my dad in business and doing quite well, even at that very young age. I was making serious money at that young age because my dad's business, he does wholesale supplies. People buy, we had a customer that was supplying like the whole northern Nigeria chalk. And you can never have enough chalk, for the teachers to write on the board. So he just comes in and tells my dad, since my dad is an importer, tells my dad he wants so many trailer loads of truck, which my dad doesn't even have enough to meet the need. So my dad has good reputation. So we go to other wholesalers, and on my dad's credit, we load up this truck, send it by rail to the purchaser, and those side deals are our deals. So we're making some serious money even before coming over to the US. So in coming here, it was natural for me to now lean towards business administration since I couldn't study law. But my sister said, business administration is a common general study that I need to do something more specific. She now enrolled me in accounting. And I didn't really study math back there because, it's only nerds that study math. So
nerds.
So I was doing art as alternative to math. Okay, so I had to now do accounting, and that was tough because I had to now start from basic math, 1 + 1, to kind of boost my confidence. And I ended up doing very well in accounting. And after my first degree in accounting, I ended up doing masters in accounting while waiting to get into law school.
So one thing is interesting. You did say you left Nigeria thinking of studying law. Normally, we all know, it's not even about normally, we all know that Nigerian parents expect their children to be doctors, lawyers, possibly engineers. Anything else you can count out, right? So what influenced you at that young age to really want to become a lawyer?
My dad was quite liberal. He just wants you to get good education. He wasn't pushy as to which specific field to go into. He just wants an educated mind. So what influenced me to go into law was that we had a tenant in my dad's house. So very young man. So in the evenings when he prepares for his cases the next day, so he calls me, then I probably was about, 10 years old or thereabout. So he sends me on an errand to go buy him cigarette. He smokes St. Moritz cigarette. So he sends me to go buy him cigarette. And he gives me sufficient amount of money to cover the purchase of the cigarette and have some change left over. Keep in mind, over in Nigeria, even though cigarette is supposed to be for adults, but they sell cigarettes on, street corners and anybody can purchase a cigarette. The presumption is you're purchasing it for an elderly person. So I go out there, buy the cigarette and bring it to this lawyer. I think his name is Lawyer Motayo. So I give him the cigarette and there's still, sufficient change left over. And he just tells me to keep the change all the time. And at this time, that change is enough for you to go and buy soda, buy a Fanta or Coca-Cola, a whole bottle to yourself. And keep in mind, if you go to parties, then children's parties, they may split one bottle of Coca-Cola, split it among 10 kids. You only get to feel the feeds in your mouth, So the change this lawyer gives me is enough to buy a whole bottle to myself. So I hang around the window of his building and I hear him prepare for his case for the next day. He plays the role of the prosecutor, the defense lawyer, the witness, the accused, the judge. So he's role playing, switching the argument, screaming, lowering his voice, the tempo. And I really enjoyed that. And I said to myself, with this guy having this kind of money to spare some change, and with this theatrics, I think I found out what I want to be when I grow up. So that's how I decided to become a lawyer.
And so since you've been a lawyer, have you found someone to send out to get you some Coke? and then leave them. When I say Coke, I mean Coca-Cola. So that you can leave that person some change too. Have you done that?
Well, I try to. You may not realize it. Sometimes I go to college campuses and go to high school to speak to kids, to encourage them and all this stuff. So sometimes, I always, maybe buy some pizza, order some stuff, some chicken or, just those little things to make the atmosphere a little bit comfortable, And, I've gone to a restaurant and when I wanted to pay, the waitress told me, "Oh, don't worry, somebody has already paid your bill." I said, "Who?" Pointed to the guy. I didn't even recognize the guy. So I went to the guy. I said, "Oh, please, pardon me. I really don't know you." So he said, "Oh, while he was in law school, I always come there to encourage them, be with them, make myself available." So he really appreciated it. So he's paying back. So those little things matter. It's not like I'm out there actively, doing those things. But whenever there's opportunity to lift somebody up, you may not know what impact it has on the person.
That is very true. So you've had many opportunities to pay this forward. What you had as a child, you've paid that forward many, many times.
Yeah, and let me just mention, as part of my activities, I'm the president of the African Bar Association here, and my term has been up multiple terms over, and I've tried to relinquish the position, and they say, "Oh, stay there, nobody's going to do what you're doing," because part of the idea is to provide a bridge for new lawyers coming out so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel and things like that. We go to churches, we go to several events, we set up seminars and bring different expertise to the community and just to the indigents to try to assist them, because the legal field, if you need a lawyer, you'll find out how expensive lawyers are. So we try to give back to the community, and, it's better to keep somebody out of trouble than somebody being in trouble and coming to you and can't afford to pay you.
That's true. The funny thing about being in America is that when we come into America, we really have so many opportunities. If this is probably the wrong word, but I would say opportunities to get in trouble, meaning that you're exposed to so much. And because you don't know, you really can easily get trapped. Have you dealt with lots of newcomers into America who have been in trouble because they just didn't know the law?
It's not just newcomers. This is a law-based society, and even every legislative session, they come out with hundreds of laws. We're not even talking about local ordinance in the cities, not just state and federal. So we as lawyers, we can't even keep track, okay? And again, the American system is set up whereby as a lawyer, I'm a Texas licensed lawyer. So I'm licensed to practice law in Texas. I can also apply to get admission into the federal bar so that you can handle federal cases and go to federal courts, okay? But with that, you're so much limited that you can't even keep up with your local laws, not to talk about the rest of the nation. So we as lawyers, I'll give you an example. I have a friend that he was basically declared one of the top lawyers in the whole country. He's very good. He knows his onions. But he's more of a litigator, okay? He goes to court, has good poise, argues good case, prepares well. But he's not an employment lawyer. I have an employment law background. So there was an incident that happened whereby he found out that one of his low-level staff were not up and up. They were doing something that was uncalled for. So he terminated the employment and basically said he was not going to pay the last paycheck for the last 2 weeks the guy worked, sort of as retaliation, because what the guy did was really, really terrible. So we're just having lunch and he mentioned it to me and I said, no, you cannot do that. He said, why can't you do it? And I told him, I said, because under Texas law, when somebody works, regardless of the circumstance, even if he commits murder, that earned income, you cannot withhold it. You must pay it. He was so, I don't know the word, but he wasn't a happy camper. But I told him he must pay the money. Even if the person commits murder, you still must pay that salary because it's earned, okay? So he doesn't know that. If anybody should know, we're talking about top-class, world-class lawyer, but he didn't know. So it's not just immigrants running the risk of violating the law. Even all of us, including we lawyers, I represent so many lawyers with the bar. Simple mistakes can get you not only in trouble, but you can lose your law license. So you need to be careful. That's why network is important. You need to have people in different locations. You need to have a lawyer on speed dial so that if you have questions, you can ask. Even myself, I call other lawyers and ask all the time. Let me give you another example. We started doing an outreach program since when we put up seminars. Sometimes people don't show up and they don't come, to learn, they're complacent. So we start going to churches. We start going to mosques to kind of ask for 10 minutes. 30 minutes later, they say, oh, please, no, you can't go, please tell us some more. For example, you're having dispute with your spouse and your spouse decides to leave the house so that it doesn't escalate. You block the doorway. No, you're not going anywhere. You're going to say, yeah, hear me tell you my mind. Your spouse picks up the phone to dial 911 or dial police, and you grab the phone, take the phone from your spouse. once this dialing has started, once they dial the 911, if police shows up, you've committed a major offense here in Texas because you're interrupting an emergency 911 call. You are going to jail.
No way. Just for that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And if you're a green card holder, you're just a resident, such conduct could get you deported. Simple things like that. So people don't know that. And you've had a lot of people in that domestic situation. All they say is, oh, I didn't know. I didn't mean to get my wife deported. I didn't mean to get my husband deported. It is serious. There's another situation. A guy wants to smoke cigarette, goes to store, didn't have enough money, wrote a check for like $6 for the cigarette. The check bounced. They issued an arrest, a warrant for his arrest. He was driving a car with a temporary tag. Police stopped him, ran a check. They saw that he was being wanted for bad check. The guy found himself in Delta State, Nigeria.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, so it's not just a lot of work in the past. Employers will ask you in the application form for employment, they'll ask you, have you ever been arrested? We civil rights lawyers had to challenge those type of questions because it's unfair towards minorities that have higher probability of being stopped by cops, even though they didn't commit any offense. So just being arrested, even for a traffic offense, doesn't mean you've done something wrong, okay? The proper questions to be asking on job application forms is, have you been convicted of a felony or crime of moral turpitude? That's the proper questions to ask in those application forms. So we, employment and civil rights lawyers, had to fight for employers to change those type of language in application form, because if you're going by arrest record, you could be arrested and not convicted. You're clean, okay? So we had to do that, and that's why we encourage folks, even though if you've been arrested, don't charge for a crime. If you were not convicted, you should seek an expunction, whereby that arrest record is deleted from your record. So if somebody does due diligence or check on you, it wouldn't even come up that you've been arrested, because even though that's not supposed to be used against you, but we still know that there's some biases out there. People are looking for excuses not to hire you.
This is so complicated for a lot of people. How do we go around this maze, really? Because it's really too much. And so when you say you go telling people in churches and mosques and schools, you can't cover all of this in one day. So what do we do?
That's why I tell them, please, can you give us 10 minutes to come speak to your congregation? They say, oh, okay, 10 minutes. When we get here, when we start speaking, and we say, oh, we're past our time, it's 30 minutes. Can we go? They say, you're not going anywhere.
Oh my gosh, this is quite something, though. And how can we get around this in terms of knowledge? How do we can't be all lawyers, right?
Well, the fact of the matter is that the law presumes you know the law, okay? So it's on you, okay? There's a presumption you know the law. Like I told you, even I've had occasion to represent even lawyers. And you can know everything, but you should make an effort to educate yourself, okay? I don't do bankruptcy law, but I read bankruptcy journals. I don't do criminal law. I read criminal journals, okay? Just to broaden my mind. Let me give you another example. I had young people, especially those coming to college, they're exposed and they have peculiar issues. I had a situation where a parent called me. The child was in college, and a fellow student said, "Oh, please, can you help me? My uncle is about to send me some money, and I'm overcharged on my bank account. I have an overdraft. So if my uncle sends the money into my bank, the bank is going to seize it and deduct the money I'm overdrawn on. So I need this money to pay my rent. They're about to evict me. They're about to kick me out." So innocently, this is your fellow student in this dire street. You say, okay, here's my bank account. Your uncle can send the money to you, to my account. It so happened that the student, the student that needs assistance, somebody is asking him for his bank account so that they can put fraudulent money in his account. And he's wise enough not to give them the account. They went to this innocent fellow student to ask for the innocent student's account. The student gave the account. The money came into the account. 2 days later, the bank contacted the account owner and said, look, somebody has filed a complaint that this account was used for a fraudulent purpose. We are going to seize all the money in the account till our investigation is done. The student was in awe that, what did I get myself in? Meanwhile, the student that sought help was now pressuring, oh, we have information, the money came into your account. If you don't release the money, we know where your parents live, we're going to kill you, we're going to kill your parents. So they now contacted me. And I basically said, don't ever release the money to those folks. Go to the police station and turn yourself in and tell them. I'm not a criminal lawyer, okay? So, but under the circumstances, since you're innocent, you go to the police station, tell them what's going on, that you're also a victim. And the bank released the money to her, and they're pressuring her to turn over the money to them. I say, go to the police station, give the draft to the police to hold, let them go collect it from the police. So eventually she filed complaint. The police said, well, until somebody files complaint with the police, that they have nothing to do. They won't even take the money from her. So good news is I didn't hear back from them, so I figure all that died down. So you can innocently be implicated while you're trying to innocently do somebody a favor. So just like the boxing match, when you get into the ring, the referee tells you, protect yourself at all times. Protect yourself at all times. That's all I can say.
Well, thank you so much. I know that you have two wonderful young men. Are they men, actually? They're teenagers,
yes,
right?
They're teenagers.
And since you came as a young man yourself, you've been through America's, not just one colleges. You also have seen so much as a father. What are your hopes for your young men or your teenagers? What do you hope for in America today?
Well, I think they have excellent opportunities, okay? But also they have more distractions than we had because a lot of our exposure is limited to your physical proximity. Now, you can have your son, he's on the computer, he's screaming, yelling, and you say, oh, what's going on? He say, oh, I'm playing the game with my friend. Oh, who is your friend? Oh, John. Oh, who is John? He's in Australia. He's in China. He's in Japan. So their sphere is different from ours, okay? When we were growing up, we played soccer on the street. And once you see your mother coming back home, everybody run inside and go and pick up your book and pretend as if you've been reading all day. These are all physical proximity. Now, these kids have a different world. The exposure is global. And you don't even have an insight or clue into what's really going on with them, you know. And while you're praying, you also just give them guidance as to no-go areas, and you try to show them example and hope for the best that they choose the right path, But our world is totally different from their world. We don't even have a clue into what they are faced with on a daily basis.
That is so true. We talk about all this talk about, social media, and it's like we've lost control. That's what I say, that we've completely lost control of our kids. I want to thank you so much, Attorney Chukelu. This has been quite a pleasure, and we've learned so much from you. So we'll be very careful as to what we do in terms of where we go. We talk to who sends money into our bank accounts, right? You said
that. Absolutely. Let me also mention, a lot of people don't realize this, okay? A lot of times, the critical problem areas is felony and crime of moral turpitude. Crime of moral turpitude may be as low as, I'm not belittling it, but it may be as low as drunk driving. Drunk driving here in Texas is a misdemeanor, okay? But with a lot of people being killed by drunk drivers and all this stuff. So if one has drunk driving case, you're going to have mothers against drunk drivers show up in court, put pressure on judges, and, it's not going to be a slap on the wrist. And once you have that on your record, that's a crime of moral turpitude. You write a check for $10 and it bounces and you're criminally charged. Even though it's a misdemeanor, it's crime of moral turpitude. So as little as those crimes are, that can have a major triggering effect, because the key when your background is being checked is they're looking for felony or crime of moral turpitude. If you're a resident and not a citizen, it's grounds to even initiate a deportation proceeding. You can find yourself back in the old country for such a minor stuff as writing $5 bad check. Okay, not to talk about credit card fraud or other major infractions. So the best thing is keep your nose clean.
Thank you. It has been quite a pleasure. And we've enjoyed your time so much. You said, just like the church, we said 10 minutes, right? Or 30 minutes. We want you to talk more. So hopefully we can have the privilege of having you again on our podcast very soon.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes. And also, I forgot to mention, your husband was my roommate in college. So we went through the rough and tumble together.
One day that will be a topic by itself. Do you agree? Do we agree? That will be a topic by itself.
With his permission that I disclose.
Thank you so much. I really have had a wonderful time with this podcast. And so we hope to talk again soon.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Bye-bye. All right.
Bye.
To our audience, thank you for listening to our podcast on immigrants' desires to come to America and their dilemmas while staying in America. We hope this episode has been helpful and informative. Remember, adapting to a new culture can be difficult. With the right guidance and support, it is possible. We want you to share our podcast. We also want you to call us or go on our website, desireddilemma.com, for more episodes. Thank you so much for being with us today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.